So I'm going to share a screen. I'm just going to open up this download for you, and then I'm going to talk about it for just a half a second so we can kind of all be on the same page. So this is called birthing your sweet spot business model. Anybody heard the term, know the term business model? Right? Okay, so for those, business model, you don't need to get freaked out. We try to do everything in layman's terms. It really is just the way you want to do your business. That's it. Just the way you want to do your business. And in this day and age, for 2021, we could not be more blessed, because the way people are doing business is just this incredibly open way. It's this hybrid, it's a tribrid. It's like any way that you want to do it, what works, then do it. If you're working in your jeans, your sweats, your yoga pants, if you're doing it out in the street, you're doing it online, doesn't matter. It's the way that it works for you. You can have a lemonade stand or you can have a thriving global business. It doesn't matter. It's the way that it works for you. So very quickly, I just want to go through, these are some of the things that we're going to talk about more in depth, but you already know, to know your business model, first know what's your one big message, your one big thing, your audience avatar. So you know who you are, what you're doing, how you're sharing it, and who you're sharing it to. And then the ideal is the personal professional life. What does that look like for you? So get a chair, get a lemonade, sit down, envision for yourself. Just envision what would be the ideal way that I want to do my business? Because what can happen if it's not already happened to you is you can get sucked into the vortex of, I've got to do everything right now. I got to do this and I got to do this. And then you want to go start do something. You're like, oh, but I need to do this first. Oh, but then I need to do this first. It's kind of like trying to remodel the family room, right? You're like, oh, well, let's just put in new carpet. But then you got to put in new carpet. It's drapes and it's whatever. And it's all kinds of stuff. So I invite you to consider what that looks like for you. What is the ideal? What number of hours do you want to work? Is it Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week? Is it I want to do 10 hours? Is it I want to do 15? What is the thing for you? Oh, I love this stuff. I want to do it 20, 30 hours a week. And where and what kind of environment? Like for me, I wanted a few hours a day and I wanted to be in my office and then out meeting people and networking. And I wanted a variety of being able to sit down and do a podcast or to type I have a chair in my room where I don't usually do a lot of stuff, but sometimes that's my creative place. So I have a chair that if I want to be creative about content, then that's where I sit in the chair. I do not do business stuff on my bed because Dr. Joe Dispenza makes it clear you want to have spaces for certain things because your mind will associate it. So I encourage you to think, where do you want to do your business stuff? I didn't have an office for a long time. Well, I had an office, but does anybody else have an office like this? It was just the pit. It was like where everything got thrown and it was Christmas presents getting hidden and it was wrapping paper stuff and it was just a mess. And I would always just close the door on it. But that was supposed to be my office that I was supposed to be able to do. So I was able to get Angela Ingo and she helped me to redo my office. And now it is a working space that I love. So think about what that looks like. And then describe your ideal work day. What does that look like for you? Is it a mix of meeting people? Is it being online? Is it being able to write? Is it being able to do videos? What does that look like for you? So like I said, I'm just opening this as a file drawer so you can think about it over the weekend. And then we're going to talk more about this on Wednesday. But very simply, you write down, what do you offer? How do you deliver it? Who delivers it? And when and where does it get delivered? So as you start looking at those and just brainstorm, don't make it super official, just keep it loose. I gave you an example of what I do, retreats in person, who delivers it, when and where, just so you could get an idea of what that looks like, what that means. And then you can list out what roles are needed. What roles do you want to do? And then who can fill them? Just like they said, we found this Christy Gallen. She's amazing. And now she's going to take that really freaky, scary, weird piece that we don't even want to deal with. She's going to help us with it. And it's going to make it all better. So really quickly on the last thing, while you're thinking of this and what that kind of business model might look like for you, start opening that file drawer. I'm going to give you the 5 S's of the sweet spot business model. So the first thing is stay in your lane. Anybody read that book where it talks about stay in your lane or heard that concept? The concept is sometimes we want to get out on a freeway. We want to go in other people's lanes because we can see they're being successful. We can see that it's working for them. So we go, wow, let's switch lanes. I'm going to do it that way. Or I'm going to do it with their talent, or I'm going to do it like that. I'm going to try to get their gifts. And we can stay in our lane. We can also start doing a job. And then because we have to wear a lot of hats, then we're like, well, I'll go over here, or I'll go over there. But instead, we can stay in our lane and get our zone of genius, and we can farm out the other things that we are not passionate about. We have to stay with what we're passionate about. If you are stuck with what you're doing, it's probably because you're not focused on what you're passionate about. Because when you can focus on your passion, you will find other people to help you do the things that you don't really feel like and want to do. So that's something to consider. The second is understand the stage of your business. There are 5 stages of the business, and I'll go over those next week: ideation and all kinds of things that you can know. When you look at your business, it will help you to be able to see, oh, I'm at this stage. That's why I feel this way. Oh, and this is probably the next stage coming. Okay, that makes sense why things are happening this way or why I feel this way, instead of trying to push it and make it be something that it's not that stage of the business. So I will go over that next week, so don't worry about that. But just be aware, a business creation has stages, and it's good to go with your stage. The next thing is to simplify, identify what needs to be done, who can do it best, and how to sustain it. And that's Rochelle, all about systems. And I would love to have her come on, be able to share some tips on businesses, but thinking always, simplifying. When Jen said earlier, hey, I'm happy to send out my book, we are talking about ways to do that that's easier. So for example, people in the group, if you want to get an opinion on something, then sending out a free email copy is a great idea. Once it's done, then people are welcome to buy it. Does that make sense? Because now it's not just getting a beta test, now it's a different thing. So it's good to simplify it so that you're not causing yourself more stress and more, get a system in place so that it's automated. And we'll talk about ADE, which is an acronym for how to be able to simplify and sustain your processes. And that's the second thing, is to systemize. And then the last thing is service. And that's being able to look at your service staircase and keep the lens of nurturing and nourishing your clients. It's easy to get caught up in the business vernacular and business needs and start seeing people as like clients and how to get them down there and how do we do this and how do we make it happen and how do I post, but keeping a disciple thought leader lens on how am I nourishing them? How am I preparing them for the one big thing so that they can receive it? How can I do this in a way that if the Savior was beside me, he would be like, yes, you're leading them to me because of what you're sharing. So if that makes sense, I know I'm doing it super fast because I want to give lots of time for Lamira to be able to share her social media stuff. That's your sweet spot business model.